Okay. I wanted to get on here. Eric will return shortly, so he says. He's a bit of a liar, so I wouldn't bet on that. Yeah, I know. I want to talk about. I recently got the opportunity, though he did not. He was busy getting married or something.
I was watching NASCAR.
Oh, he was watching that. He wasn't even getting married. I was gonna give you the benefit of the doubt.
That was the weekend after.
Okay. Anyway, I got the opportunity to watch Ring of Honor Best in the World.
There was a NASCAR race, and I was a newlywed for a full week. I wasn't going to be watching a Ring of Honor show. I'm sorry. It was just bad timing.
Fair enough. It was a really good show, though, and you should have watched it because it was excellent.
I know.
Just overall, I would say it's not the best Ring of Honor show I've ever seen. That's not saying anything because there's some really good Ring of Honor shows, and so to say it doesn't match up to the best is still good. So it was a pretty good show. The undercard was the weak point.
That's interesting because their undercard is usually so strong.
Yeah, they were doing. They did Mike Bennett and Jay Lethal, which was fun. I mean, it was fun to see Jay Lethal. That's actually the one thing that almost got me to go ahead and buy the show anyway. It was the return of Jay Lethal. Yeah, I was so stoked for that. I'm a huge fan. He had a huge pop for his return. It was absolutely just really big. And he did some cool stuff too. He did the Savage. He won with the elbow drop.
Good. And that's cool given the circumstances.
Yeah, people started Randy chants "Thank you, Randy" or whatever they do. He did some of the posturing too, so it was pretty cool. He didn't come out as Black Machismo, but he did.
Thank God.
But he did know that we knew that he had been Black Machismo for a long time.
And I think this is his first FaceTime since the death of Macho Man too.
Yeah, pretty sure. And he got a lot of "Fuck TNA" chants, so there's that.
That happened for a few guys on the show, though. Right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of TNA guys coming back for some reason. I don't really know why, but. There was there was a match with Cabana and
Ciampa.
Ciampa, yes. That's the second time. Cabana and Ciampa had a match. It was okay. Kind of Cabana did this comedy thing for a while, which is funny. I do like Cole Cabana a lot, but I prefer him when he's doing what he does best, which is wrestling.
Some would argue he's actually more funny than he is a good wrestler.
Fair enough. He is a good wrestler.
Let's be fair, the guy's freaking hilarious.
He's a very good wrestler, but he is very funny. He's usually best when he's got someone to bounce off of, and Ciampa really
kind of a stick in the mud.
Yeah, so they're doing the undefeated thing with Ciampa right now. So he won. The embassy, was there. Obviously, it's all that stuff. It was fine. Not great, but fine. We had Rhino and Homicide, which it was awesome to see. I didn't know Rhino was going to be on the card until the day before.
I didn't know until you told me. I was like, whoa, I missed that one.
Yeah, I totally missed that one. And he had a nice little street fight with Homicide. Not as hardcore as I would have liked it, but still good. The big kind of table spot didn't come until after the match, which was okay. But decent. It was nice to see Rhino in there. It was... I love that he's in the embassy.
Yeah,
they're not
awesome
giving him title matches. And it's like
I'm sure he'll work his way there.
I'm sure he will work his way up too. But it's nice that they're not doing what TNA would do in a similar situation with respective levels of talent, where they would say, this guy's had a lot of face time. We're going to put him in the main event.
Kurt Angle, for example, that's what they did with him. They immediately inserted him in the main event.
Yeah, it happened. They put Desmond Wolfe in the.
Anderson,
yeah.
Anderson, same thing.
Yeah. So that was fine, and then the Homicide looked dead when literally dead. Rhino Gordon threw a table out. Homicide won the match. Rhino Gordon threw the table afterward, and the finish, as I recall, kind of came out of nowhere. But the Gordon through the table was awesome. Homicide sold it really well. I guess he's not going to be around or something for a while. He signed with some other company I've never heard of, UWF or something.
UFW or UW? I think it was UWF.
I think it might
have heard of it.
Or UL. I don't know. Anyway.
UWF. Anyways.
It was okay. There was another... Okay, yeah. And then there was... so that was kind of the three... It was Cabana... It was the Cabana match, then it was the Lethal match, then it was the Homicide Rhino match. And then we had Steve Corino versus Mike Bennett. Or Michael Elgin, rather.
Yeah.
Elgin. So it was Corino and Elgin, and beforehand, Corino was doing the thing. He had brought in Jimmy Jacobs, who was a change man. I love how Corino starts.
His sponsor, Jimmy Jacobs.
His sponsor, that's right. And Corino comes on. My name is Steve Corino, and I'm an evil person. I love it. It's just like it's Alcoholics Anonymous for bad guys. It's funny.
It's a heels Alcoholics Anonymous.
And Corino can pull it off. And
Jacobs is the perfect guy to put him with. The Ring of Honor fans know Jacobs was downright evil.
Yeah.
For quite some time.
And I was expecting Steen instead of Jacobs when he first started doing the angle and he said, I've got a sponsor, blah, blah. I was expecting it to be Steen. And then, of course, it was Jacobs, but now they brought Steen into it where Steen showed up at the arena. Corino was like,
I'll vouch for him.
Corino gave him an introduction. He said, I'll vouch for him, and he wants to change. And Steen came down, and Cornette wouldn't let him in. The security wouldn't let him in. And the whole thing, was great. It was nicely done. It was kind of strange the way they divided up the segment, because what happened was Steen wasn't allowed to come in and left. They had the Elgin Corino match, which Elgin won.
Elgin won, yeah.
And which
big
was
win
cool.
for him.
Yeah, no, I like Elgin going over. We've said before we like Michael Elgin. He's definitely for a new guy, a relatively new guy in Ring of Honor. He's definitely decent on pay-per-view. He deserves his pay-per-view spot in the undercard, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And so that was fine. And then Steen came back, and because Martini and Elgin were beating down Corino, so Steen made the save. Corino and Jacobs got beaten down. Steen made the save, and then Corino begged Cornette to let him have a mic. Cornette let him have a mic, and he said, he started to make this heartfelt promo about all the things he's done, and then he ended it with, my name is Kevin Steen, and fuck Ring of Honor, and I think he super kicked Jacobs, and he gave Corino the package pile driver. So I was marking out hardcore.
That's awesome.
The crowd loved it. He was. They kicked him out. They did the whole thing where they kicked him out, and he was laughing as they dragged him away. And he's a psychopath. And the crowd go, "We want Steen." I mean, they booed. They booed when he was taken away. They were so into it. I mean, he's probably the #1 heel in that company right now.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he's kind of being positioned much like Homicide was when Homicide was given the boot by Corino and insisted that he needed his title shot and wasn't getting it and wasn't being treated right, so he got banned from shows. Also, kind of an element of like Sabu, in that he's kind of back in the ECW days where he's kind of a wild card. You don't know what to expect. You don't know if you can trust him. To be a part of your show if he's going to do you wrong, and just by being on the card.
They're sending the angle online. They're saying the Kevin C.
The Twitter angles that they've been using. Me following Twitter has been awesome. What they've been doing with the Twitter accounts and propelling their stories. Through that.
Yeah, and Steen. Obviously it's obviously an angle. For anyone who thought it might not be. I mean, it's totally a word. Yeah. But it's brilliant. I mean, it's a great way to get Steen back in. I don't know how they're going to write him back in, but they will.
I was wondering that from the moment he left Final Battle. I was like, how are they going to
write him back in?
How do they bring him or Generico back? Because they've done a fine job with Generico of infusing him in the card and kind of putting that behind him. But with Steen, I was like, what do you do with this guy?
Yeah, I mean, and it's great. I mean, what you do with him is you. And it wasn't even really a swerve because he never turned face. We just thought he was going to turn face.
He just became more of an ass.
Yeah, and so I think it's a great...
And he's doing it so well.
Steen plays such a good villain, such a good psychopathic villain. Like, it almost, reminds me in a lot of ways of the way Jericho was when he turned heel again after his return in, 2009 or whatever.
Ah, yes. Yes,
and
I'm the best wrestler
as far as
in the world,
I am a cold-blooded killer. I mean, Steen's got kind of more of the psychopath thing going on with the crazed looks on his face, almost kind of a combination of that and Orton
and Brian Pillman.
Pillman, yeah,
he's a lot Brian Pillman. Okay.
So that was really good. Just great stuff all around. I loved it. Marked out hard for it. I mean, it was an amazing segment, a really amazing segment, and I think that it's the kind of non-wrestling content that will get people to come back.
Yes.
Because, here's this guy, someone whose first pay-per-view was best in the world, might have been told, certainly was told by the announcers, you know, at least of Kevin Steen and Generico's history, and his history with the company, and they're, you know, there is this, since it's obviously worked, anyone who watches television, you know, people are going to be wondering, how are they going to bring him back in? How is this going to unfold?
Is this guy going to continue to interrupt shows? Is he going to fight his way back onto the card? Is he going to continue to be a disruption to things? It's kind of what we talked about with the CM Punk thing in our earlier video, in that he's going to draw attention to this company the right way, because he's going to bring in that real versus fake, scripted versus reality, shoot versus work element mixed in with a storyline. In Ring of Honor, you know, they've needed to put on more storylines. If they're going to become a episodic show, they got to create storylines.
Yes.
This is a perfect way to go.
It's a great storyline. I can see Steen winning the world title, you know, in the near future, personally. Not, you know, within the next few months, but
no, yeah, I think Richards is going to be champion for a little while.
Richards will be champion for a while, but I can definitely see Steen being the one to take it off him if it takes off, you know, the way.
Yeah. That would be a phenomenal match, by the way. I've seen those two wrestle.
Those guys have gone, you know, have the history with the Wolves and Steen Jericho. So yeah, that was great. Just, you know, that was when things really started picking up with the Steen angle, because the first 3 matches were good, but when things really started picking up was with the Steen angle. Then we got the intermission, and after that we had the 3 title matches. And by the fact that there were only 3 matches left after intermission, you knew they were going to go long.
I think everyone knew that going in.
So yeah, and so you had the 3 title matches. It was first Daniels defending against Generico, the TV title. I think we all pretty much expected that Generico was going to walk away with this. Daniels is going back to TNA. He's signing a contract with them.
He's already been there for a little while anyway.
Yeah, but he's not signing to, you know, ROH trying to sign all his talent to
well, that, and because they're going to television, TNA is not going to loan out their talent.
Right, exactly. So Daniels is gone. They're already trying to find a replacement for him in House of Truth, apparently. I'm not sure who that's going to be. But, so you had that. You had Generico winning. You know, the match was good. The match was very good. A lot of spots. It didn't feel like they clicked some of the time. The chemistry seemed off on some occasions. But overall, you know, no complaints. It was Daniels and Generico. They did a fine job. They went a good length, maybe a little long, but a good length. Well, actually, I should revise that. They went too long. They went too long with the television title match. I mean, it was just like a few minutes shorter would have been good, I think. But
overall, walking away though, you have a new television champion.
That's pretty nice. And I think you know, Jericho will be a good person because he is, you know, he's a very good TV personality. He strikes me.
Yes.
You know, very good. Like, this is El Generico. He's a TV champion. He defends that title every time there's a, you know, whatever.
Well, you know, he's going to catch the attention of the Lucha Libre fan who's channel surfing at 10 p.m. on Saturdays, where this show is going to be airing in a lot of places. He's going to catch the passive wrestling fan who's going, why is that guy wearing a mask and running around? And he's clearly a white dude. You don't see that very often. And he's very engaging.
He looks Irish.
I know. He's a very engaging personality.
Yeah, I mean, from everything to the entrance, everything about him. He makes a great television champion. I'm glad he finally has, you know, a singles title. So, yeah.
Tag match.
Tag match. Wish I could. Honestly, I mean, I saw the entrances. I saw the beginning, and then the feed started cutting out real badly for me. I don't really know how much of a problem it was on their end. I suspect that since Best in the World, like, just destroyed their record for iPPV buys, I'm guessing part of the problem was that they were not prepared for the amount of traffic they had.
Maybe.
But, you know,
we watched both days of Honor Takes Center Stage, and we watched Final Battle.
Yeah.
And all of those cards, all of those pay-per-views had some issues at some point, because this format, presenting live wrestling, is still not perfected.
Honor Takes Center Stage was pretty good.
It was pretty solid. There was a couple parts where it kind of skipped.
Yeah. You know, this one I missed most of the tag team title match.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. I can't wait to buy it on DVD so I can see it again, because it looked really good, and I heard the crowd chanting things like, "This is awesome" and "This is wrestling" and stuff. And then, but the best part, and the part that really makes me think it was technical issues on their end, they were having technical issues, was at one point, because it was frozen, right? You know how it does. It freezes, and then it comes back for a little bit, and it freezes again. It was frozen. It came back on for like 5-10 seconds. And during that 5-10 seconds, what I heard from the announcers was, I believe Kevin Kelly's line was, "This is why I drink," I believe I heard him say. And then I'm pretty sure I heard Prazak say, "Don't get your guns, kids," or something like that. "Don't load your shotguns, kids," you know, like, and that was all, and then it froze again. Like, that was all we heard. So, that was pretty funny.
Out of context or whatever.
Yeah, and it might have been relevant to something totally different, but anyway, I did come back. By the time I got it back working again, the Briscoes have been eliminated. So they went out first. Interesting decision. A couple people I've read were unhappy with it, but I think you need to give ANX the nod and not have them go out first.
Well, yeah. Let's analyze that. The Briscoes. How many times have they been champion?
6.
6. I thought it was 7.
It might be 7.
I think it was 7. It might be 6. They've got the prestige that comes with the tag belts. They are the tag division of Ring of Honor. Been there since day one.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. ANX has been given this push by being put in a feud with them. They're trying to elevate ANX as a legitimate tag team. If you have them go out first in this match, that's kind of what everybody would book.
Yeah, that's what that would be expected.
And it doesn't do anything for ANX. And this match needed to. The point of a match like this is to get everybody over in some way.
The Briscoes are going to be fine. You're never going to.
That's
you're
what
never going to stop. Yeah.
Everybody's got to get over in some way, walk away with this, some sort of benefit. That's where you have a great match, especially when you've got 8 different wrestlers in the match.
Yeah.
Putting ANX ahead of the Briscoes in this instance does nothing to destroy the Briscoes. The Briscoes are still the Briscoes. They still got their thing going on. Mm-hmm. But ANX gets a point. They get a point added.
I'm pretty sure they're
one point of overness.
I believe has been added. I believe they're the ones who eliminated ANX as well. So
I mean
Briscoes.
Yeah, they had their feud.
Yeah.
Back in March, March and April. So that makes sense. That booking makes sense, and I'm okay with that.
Sure. And then ANX went out next. The Kings took him out with a loaded elbow pad. So
and that makes sense.
So there you go. They didn't lose cleanly. They got taken out with a loaded elbow pad. Fucking Chris Hero.
And for as much as the Kings lost the title, they are still very much considered equal.
Sure.
To the tag champs, as they should be.
The Kings came out to the guy. I guess the guy who does their music wrapped them up to the ring.
Yeah, I read that on Chris Hero's
it was pretty interesting.
Twitter account. Yeah. That was pretty interesting.
Their music is so great. But so it was Kings and the World's Greatest. Everything I saw was very good. It was very good. There were no. I believe, unless I'm mistaken, that Kenny King did fuck something up. He usually does. But
his overall body of work
he's
is
getting better. He's getting a lot better. So, I was kind of actually maybe a little sad. I was like, oh, he fucked something up again.
Whereas before we were like, it's Kenny King. Now it's oh, come on, Kenny.
The finish was strange. They did some double spine buster or something. Like it looked like a normal double team move. It didn't look like anything really special, and so I was kind of odd when it won the match for them, especially because it wasn't a fall. It was the final fall,
Yeah.
It was the match for them to retain the belt. So that was a little off. I didn't really like that. But overall, what I saw was good, and from what I was hearing, sounded good.
For the radio broadcast.
But, that's all okay, because the real reason that most people bought this show was for the main event, because it was Richards and Edwards for the World Championship.
And Ring of Honor knew that.
Yeah.
Going in. And they knew the main event is what mattered, and the main event is why you were buying the show.
I would pay
$30.
WWE level pay-per-view prices.
$50
for that match.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so good. It, not best I've ever seen. I'll have to think on that one.
That might take a while. That might take a series of videos that we'll do someday.
I think it was, unfortunately, sir, I'm going to have to say it was better than Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker. In the match from Raw.
That's my number one.
So
and close second, Joe Sabin from Impact.
That is a good match. Although I would probably put the Unbreakable match, Unbreakable 3-Way above that. But from 05.
Let's not get into this.
Enough about back when TNA was good. Yeah, no, I thought this was just absolutely excellent. These guys were chain wrestling. They were hard hitting. They were trading submission holds. They were slamming each other down the ring apron. There was a table spot. There was, everything.
The ring apron bit actually got a separate tweet.
Did it?
I knew the main event was happening, and I was following, what wrestling people were saying, and it got a separate. I was like, "Wow, this must be really interesting to people that this one move deserved that much attention."
It was really the whole thing. It was a freaking double stomp. The table was outside the ring, I believe, and Edwards double stomped Richards through it from the top rope. It was. It was pretty brutal.
I gotta see this.
And these two guys beat the living shit out of each other. Richards said afterwards that he could not remember the match. I'm not sure how much of that is true, but Richards said afterwards that he couldn't remember most of the match. I think that should show you how much they were beating each other, although it's kind of sad for him.
Well, the best matches are the ones between friends, because friends trust each other to beat the shit out of each other and do it the right way.
False finishes galore. It was interesting that Edwards hit the 2K1 driver a couple of times. One of them was, I believe, the apron spot. That was what he did on the apron. Was he hit the 2K1 driver on the apron. But Richards, seeing less of the signature moves, got the alarm clock, got the, I think we got the alarm clock. I know we got his submission holds, the ankle lock, the arm bars, all that. He was doing all the submission stuff, and Edwards was too. But, no DR driver, no shooting star, stuff like that I missed, but it didn't bother me that it wasn't in there. Like, if he had pulled a shooting star, that would have just, capped the fantastic match. But he didn't, but that's fine. So there were a couple of spots that I was almost expecting to see that weren't there, but that was totally fine. It was a different kind of match. It was them it was felt a lot more UFC. Felt a lot more like them trying to win.
And I can add to that, because following them on Twitter the whole, 2 weeks before, those two wrestlers used their Twitter to discuss their training regimen, their diet, their thoughts on being champion, their thoughts on the company, the thoughts on what it means to be a wrestler and to be in the industry. Very UFC.
So basically the UFC video package on Twitter.
That's what it felt like, is that they were presenting this as two men fighting in a competitive match for a sports title. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, no,
going into it, and that's what
it looked like. Yeah, and just the way the finish, which was Richards kicking Edwards in the head over and over again, super kicking him until he couldn't get up, and he kept kicking out, and then he kicked out again. He was still on the ground, and Richards backed up and basically did the Randy Orton punt into his face, essentially. Although Richards was on his back. And Edwards was on his back, and Edwards sold the hell out of it, and he got the 3 count. I wasn't quite sure if I expected it or not. But that was kind of cool. It wasn't a finishing move. It was me kicking you in the head. That's how I win my title.
Well, from the way you portray it, it kind of sounds like put your special moves aside, put your submission holds aside, put your finishes aside.
Submission holds were all over the place.
Well, but as far as the finish goes,
yeah,
put those signature things aside. It came down to Richards outlasted Edwards.
Yeah. And
had to put Edwards to the point where Edwards had nothing left in the tank.
And when you're doing it with two guys who say, the American Wolves and the hunt is on, it was very much a feeling like Richards survived.
Yeah.
And
the survivor of the match,
and it was nice. Of the match. It was nice to see that, because we've gotten that from him before, except Roderick Strong, the final battle match. where we all expected him to win it, and it was like he didn't lose, he was knocked out, but you almost felt like, good God, like that was, Richards is a survivor, and that it almost it felt like that, but on the other side, but only
yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I think I with that match back at Final Battle with Strong, you got the feeling that Richards was not just fighting for the title, but surviving these exhausting, draining matches.
Yeah.
And in that case, at Final Battle, he failed.
Yeah, Richards gives it all.
He gave all.
Yeah.
And it hurt him.
Yeah.
And that's what his body gave out. That's why he lost. Not because Strong was better than him, but because he was out of gas.
Yeah.
And in this case, he had more gas than Edwards did.
Yeah. And it was... And so, just an absolutely astounding match in pretty much every way possible. And then the finale, the thing at the end, the post-match event, with Davey getting on the mic, and being Davey. I mean, he was, that's the great thing about Davey Richards. Is he doesn't have a character. He's himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And, his... Kyle O'Reilly and his trainers came out and were talking to him, and stuff about his family and his wife, all this stuff, and he was crying. I mean, the guy was actually crying, like visibly, audibly. He was sobbing.
Well, and Richards has played so much of his personal life into his position with the company and his character. That made sense to people to have that outpouring of emotion, and that fit the character and the story.
And it was great because it really looked a lot like it took them a while for it to get through to him that he won the championship.
Yeah,
and Edwards too. For either of them to know that the match was over, those two guys just laid it all on the line, and the result was amazing. And anyone who watched the match, it's a damn sure candidate, probably should win Match of the Year. I haven't seen the rest of the matches this year, obviously, because I'm not a time traveler, but I'm guessing.
I thought you were.
I'm not. I know. I led you to believe that, but I lied.
Damn.
But, the fans were chanting Match of the Year, and then, of course, they started chanting Best in the World for Richards. And Edwards got on the mic, and he said some really nice things. That they both, and I don't know if they're going to turn Eddie heel.
I don't think they will.
I
thought I was reading something today. I could be wrong. It might be a good
idea, but I'm glad. If they do, I'm glad they didn't do it the night of.
I thought I was reading something today about the two of them tagging again.
No, it's entirely possible, but
I should probably do more research before I discuss stuff like that.
Again, they might be building that, because this was Davey's night, but I can totally see them turning Eddie heel and having that be a big feud, but
I don't think it's necessary with who else you have lined up as heels right now, though. Potential.
Yeah, I guess Strong comes back and
Steen. You're talking about Steen being an element, possibly. Rhino even being part of the embassy.
I don't know. It's possible. Either way, I'm glad. I was kind of worried that if they were going to do it, they were going to do it the night of and have that be the close of the show. I'm glad they didn't. Obviously,
Ring of Honor's been really good about giving you that thing of grapes, but not giving you all of the grapes.
Yeah,
at one show.
And they're also good about giving their champions a moment to shine, not just totally.
Well, that's the point of being a champion in any profession, in any sport, in any TV show. When you're the best, the top, in this case, the world champion, you're supposed to be a step above. You're supposed to get that feeling from that. And that gets lost a lot with how many title changes take place on weekly episodic wrestling shows, is that being a champion is supposed to mean something.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to feel like watching it that's important that you see that.
And that came across so well. I mean, Richards, it obviously meant everything to him. And it came off well, I'm sure, because it was probably real. But
but Richards has been no bones about making part of who he is, part of his character on screen.
Overall, overall, I would say that Ring of Honor once again delivered on an iPay-per-view. I mean, they did what they need to do, which is to deliver on the iPay-per-views, and they have consistently. I mean, ever since what? I mean, if not before, I remember my memory of kind of the streak of great ones starting is Death Before Dishonor last year. But you had that, then you had Glory Banner 9, then you had Final Battle, then you had Honor Takes Center Stage. 2-day. Yeah, the 2-day event. And now you've got this, and it's really good. It's what they need to do. I mean, they can't have bad shows. They can't afford to have bad shows.
Well, it's one of the things that, and we're actually watching, back right now, we're watching, Glory Banner 8.
Austin Aries.
And one of the things that Danielson talks about in his post-match, basically post-ROH interview, his exit interview, if you will.
Punch John Cena in the year?
One of the things he says, it's the one-on-one, I don't think you watched that, actually, is when he came into the company at day one, it was, we're kind of putting on a super card of indies, but where do you go from a super card of indies like this? And Ring of Honor found a way to basically do that on a routine basis, is put together what feels like a super card or something that you need to pay attention to with the indie scene.
Yeah,
but I mean, constantly evolving and improving and building off of the last step. And Ring of Honor continues to me to show that they are building off of what they've done and moving forward with. There hasn't been any regression with this company. No. There hasn't been any. Sure, there's been missteps like iPPVs maybe not working right, or or talent not being able to make shows, or stuff like that on a local basis. But as far as the company moving forward, they haven't made any missteps. And they haven't gone back.
What's nice about Ring of Honor is that they know it's not 2006 anymore. Yeah. And they know they're not Ring of Honor 2006. I love watching Ring of Honor from that year, from that era.
From, like 05 to 07.
Sure,
like,
expanded there. Amazing shows. Amazing
so many people who are now top of the industry people, too.
Yeah, sure. And a bunch of little guys, too, that don't appear anymore. But, but it's not that company anymore. Now they've been bought by Sinclair Broadcasting. They're going to be on television again. They've got to start signing their guys to contract. I mean, it's a different industry. It's a different year. I mean, and they're a different company, and they recognize that, and they embrace it, and they make it part of their evolution to, what honestly is just as good a product. I mean,
the product quality has gotten better over time, despite the fact that the company has had to evolve.
Yeah.
It isn't what it was 2 years ago. It isn't what it was 4 years ago. It isn't what it was 9 years ago.
And all the things about,
But that's okay, because they've been doing it right. This evolution has gone the right way. And now their next step is, we're going to become episodic. We're going to become a TV show. And, we've got bigger and better in mind for the future. It's going to take baby steps. And the best thing that Ring of Honor has done is they have been upfront with us as fans in saying, this is where we want to go. This is our intent.
Yeah.
And, work with us on this. They're in front of the momentum. The company is in front of the momentum.
They're not.
Well, I would say they're not riding it. They're out in front of it.
They're ready. For it.
They're prepared for this step, as they have been with every other step along the way. They are ready to go.
You think about all the troubles they've had. I mean, losing Danielson, losing McGuinness, and
and then guys like Joe and Punk, who really got them to the indie.
Aries leaving.
Got them the attention on the indie side of things. And Tyler Black,
Sure.
Losing those people. Jimmy Jacobs departing the company when he did.
But I mean, Ring of Honor shows a consistent ability to just, when one of their stars leaves, they make new ones.
And you know why? Because they're already making new ones.
That's right.
From the onset. Nobody is a wasted space on a Ring of Honor card. Everybody has a point.
I mean, what's going on? This pay-per-view you're watching here, Glory Banner 9, right? This is what Aries is champion and is world champion, and tag champs are the Wolves.
At 8.
So,
you said 9.
Oh, sorry. Did I say 9? 8. Glory Banner 8.
Not that they can see.
Yeah. Aries is champion, and the Wolves are the tag champs. So Aries leaves, but the Wolves are right there as tag champions, ready to be elevated. And now look, here it is. We just had consecutive American Wolf reigns by Edwards and Richards.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the first time in history that the tag team has consecutively, each member held the world championship.
It certainly didn't happen with the Rockers.
No, it didn't.
Or the natural
Eddie Edwards
disasters.
Is not Marty Jannetty. Basically, this show is really good. Looking forward to it. You know, and what I trust Ring of Honor. I trust. You know,
well, we talked about that with them versus WWE. Is that WWE had the benefit of the doubt for a while because they are what they are, but they're not that anymore, and they're not doing a good job, and they've lost that. Ring of Honor has earned it.
Yes, Ring of Honor has earned our loyalty. Benefit of the doubt. Has earned our loyalty. They've earned the right to have me buy their pay-per-view every time they have an iPPV. Yeah. If I ever got the chance to see them live, I totally would.
Yeah, if they come within 400 miles of Tucson again, I'm there.
Yeah.
Please come within 400 miles of Tucson, for the love of God.
We know you like the East Coast, but seriously, we're starved.
Los Angeles is just a tiny bit too far away. If you could maybe hit up Vegas, Phoenix, or, somewhere in New Mexico.
So, yeah, best in the world, really good show. I highly recommend it, and Ring of Honor is where it's at, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.